Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that when Vanessa McBride realizes the full extent of Joey Armstrong's betrayal, the calculated veneer of their relationship will crack in spectacular fashion, and it will crack on her terms, revealing strengths and schemes Joey never saw coming. From the moment Vanessa first heard the rumor that Joey had used her luxury real estate firm as a front to launder money, her pulse had tightened like a coiled spring. She remembered the late-night phone call that surfaced in her inbox, the sender anonymous, but the detail all too precise. Property after property, transaction after transaction, funneling illicit funds through her company's shell corporations. At first, she had stared at her screen in disbelief, convinced it must be a misdirection, a smear campaign concocted by a competitor. But when whispers spread through the industry grapevine, suppressed but persistent, she knew she could no longer ignore them. Vanessa prided herself on control over her brand, her reputation, and above all, her carefully cultivated image of success. The idea that she had been a pawn in Joey's game cut deeper than any personal betrayal. It threatened the empire she and her husband, Doug McBride, had built together. Yet Vanessa was not one to react with impulsive fury. Instead, she retreated into her private sanctuary, a softly lit study lined with leather-bound books on negotiation tactics, behavioral psychology, and financial forensics. Over the next 48 hours, she mapped out every possible scenario. She traced Joey's breadcrumbs into offshore accounts, through shell companies in multiple jurisdictions, and back again. She consulted discreet contacts in the financial crimes unit, confirming that the trail would point inexorably back to her firm. It would take months to unwind, legal fees soaring, the McBrides' personal assets exposed. But Vanessa also saw opportunity, a chance to turn Joey's miscalculation into leverage. If he thought she was cornered, she would make him believe the same, while all the while laying the groundwork for a counterstrike that would secure her position, enrich Doug, and leave Joey scrambling for cover. When she finally stepped back into the gleaming lobby of Armstrong Enterprises, Joey was waiting. His expression was a study in false charm, a tilt of the head, the friendly half-smile that he normally reserved for clients. "Vanessa," he said, voice warm, extending a hand. "Good to see you." Vanessa met his gaze steadily, offering only a courteous nod. She could feel every eye in the lobby track the exchange, curious about what had transpired between two high-profile figures. Under the fluorescent glow, she was immaculate in a crisp silk blouse and tailored trousers, the epitome of calm professionalism. Joey, in contrast, seemed slightly on edge, his normally immaculate suit jacket ill-fitted at the shoulders as though he had only straightened it at the last minute. "Joey," she replied, her tone neutral. "I understand you've been busy." The words floated between them like a gauntlet thrown. He blinked, confusion flickering across his features. "Busy?" He cut himself off, clearing his throat. "Look, Vanessa, I wanted to talk to you about the Fairfield project. I think there's a real synergy between our teams." She let her lips curve into a polite smile, though her heart raced. "That's wonderful," she said, voice sweet as honey. "Because I have a proposal for you, too." They moved into a private conference room, the doors whispering shut behind them. Joey sank into a plush leather chair, leaning forward. "Great. Let's hear it." Vanessa settled opposite him, spreading a folder on the polished mahogany table. The letterhead bore her firm's logo and contact information. Joey's name was scrawled at the top, in black ink. He raised an eyebrow. "I've reviewed your intentions with our real estate holdings," Vanessa began, speaking slowly, deliberately. "I'm aware of how you envisioned leveraging our properties to facilitate certain transactions." She paused, letting the understatement hang in the air. Joey's flicker of alarm was his first misstep, an unguarded tell that he knew she was in on his scheme. He opened his mouth, but she cut him off with a raised hand. "Now, I'm not angry. In fact, I find it rather impressive that you thought to imagine our properties as conduits for capital movement. It's creative, though unnecessary. She tapped the folder. I propose we recalibrate the terms. You'll withdraw any plans to integrate my company into your laundering operations. In return, I will secure a slice of your next venture's equity, 40%, to be exact. That agreement will stand on its own merits, backed by a binding contract I'll have my attorney draft. Joey blinked again, slower this time. He leaned back, arms unfolding as though to reach for a handshake. 40%? Vanessa, that's non-negotiable, she interrupted smoothly. Her eyes glinted. But wait, there's more. She slid 2 sheets of paper across the table. These are safe harbor clauses that protect both you and me. They outline the services my firm will provide expertise in, the profit allocations, and the mechanisms for dispute resolution. Sign after reading. Then we can discuss the Fairfield project, which I think will be very lucrative for both of us. Joey picked up one of the pages, scanning the dense legal language. He pursed his lips, his face a mask of fury and admiration. He recognized that she had turned his scheme against him, harvesting profit from his own design. It was a masterful move, but also a declaration of power. He had underestimated her, assuming she would panic once the laundering allegations surfaced. Instead, she had negotiated from a position of concealed strength. "How did you?" he began, but her calm, unflappable gaze halted him. "I have many resources," she said softly, "and I never rely on a single income stream." She smirked, the slightest edge of satisfaction in her tone. "You know what they say, catch more flies with honey." He swallowed, caught between his ego bruised by his mistress's clever maneuver and the satisfaction of sealing a deal that still benefited him, albeit on terms dictated by Vanessa. "All right," he finally muttered, signing on the dotted line. He pushed the papers back. "All right." Vanessa nodded and stood, collecting the folder. She paused at the door, turning back to him. "I'm glad we could come to an arrangement. I look forward to our future collaborations. Remember, Joey, loyalty and transparency go a long way." Without waiting for a reply, she swept out of the room. In the quiet corridor, the weight of her triumph settled around her shoulders like a cloak. She allowed herself a brief, private smile. Joey would speak of this deal in hushed tones. He would respect her even as he resented it. He would hesitate before ever again underestimating Vanessa McBride. That evening, back at the McBride residence, Vanessa presented the signed agreement to Doug. They sat together at their kitchen island, the soft glow of pendant lights casting a warm halo over the gleaming marble countertop. Doug, a steady presence in her life and business partner in all but name, unfolded the papers, raising his bushy eyebrows. "You really got him to sign away 40%, he asked, incredulous, yet clearly pleased. Vanessa nodded, sliding a glass of red wine toward him. "He thought I was cornered. I turned the tables." She sipped her own wine, savoring its bold berry notes. "This deal almost doubles the firm's projected revenue for next year without any risk of money laundering. I'll reinvest half into our residential portfolios. The rest goes toward the McBride Foundation." Doug's eyes softened with pride. "You did good, V. I always knew you were the stronger half in this partnership." They shared a quiet laugh, clinking glasses. But behind Vanessa's triumphant smile, gears were already turning. Her plan extended beyond this victory. She intended to cultivate Joey's dependence on her firm's services, making him reliant on her guidance. She would insinuate her own people into his operations, rusted advisors and consultants who would ensure that every step Joey took circled back to her. She would charm and seduce him into compliance, even as she kept her ultimate objectives hidden. By the time he realized her full design, it would be too late. She would control his fortunes, his secrets, and, by extension, his very power base. In the days that followed, Vanessa orchestrated a seamless integration of Armstrong Enterprises into her company's client roster. She personally oversaw the onboarding of Joey's projects, directing her team to deliver impeccable service. She hosted lavish cocktail receptions at the McBride penthouse, inviting key stakeholders and industry luminaries. Joey attended each event, wine glass in hand, dazzled by Vanessa's grace and command of the room. He praised her publicly, unaware that every compliment was another thread in the web she was weaving. Yet Vanessa never let her guard down. She knew Joey's type well: opportunistic, proud, and accustomed to wielding influence. He would seek any advantage, any misstep on her part, to regain the upper hand. So she maintained an aura of openness, revealing just enough of her intentions to keep him confident in his alliance, while veiling her deeper ambitions. When he complimented her on the smooth delivery of a beachfront development plan, she smilingly credited her team but tucked away the knowledge that she had quietly recommended a prime contractor owned by Doug's family, thereby ensuring profits remained within her inner circle. Word of her savvy deal-making spread through the industry grapevine, enhancing her reputation as a formidable negotiator. Competing firms reached out for partnerships, hoping to tap into her strategic acumen. Meanwhile, Joey found himself in the unusual position of following Vanessa's lead, something he had rarely, if ever, done in business. He arranged private strategy sessions in her study, pacing at her side as she outlined growth trajectories and risk mitigations. Vanessa welcomed these sessions, steering the conversation toward avenues that benefited her long-term vision. She spoke of philanthropic expansions, international branching, and tech-driven property management solutions, all subtle diversions from his original laundering scheme. Joey, intoxicated by her brilliance and charm, followed willingly, never suspecting that each suggestion further entrenched him deeper into Vanessa's sphere of influence. One humid afternoon, Vanessa invited Joey to the rooftop terrace of her firm's flagship building. The skyline sprawled before them, glass towers glinting in the sun, cranes constructing new monoliths, the steady hum of urban life below. She poured 2 glasses of sparkling water with a twist of lime and raised hers in a casual toast. "To new ventures," she said, eyes bright. Joey mirrored the gesture. "To our partnership," he replied, his voice earnest. "I have to admit, Vanessa, I misjudged you. I thought you'd be overwhelmed by the scandal." She tilted her head, feigning modesty. "I'm full of surprises." He laughed, the sound a bit rusty from nerves. "More than I ever expected." He looked out at the horizon for a moment, then back at her. "I want to make it up to you. Let me handle all the PR fallout. I can sweep any suspicion away before it gets traction." Vanessa studied him, considering. She had no intention of letting him take over that aspect. Control of the narrative was crucial. But she'd let him believe she trusted him with it. "That's kind of you," she said, "but I've already engaged a top firm. You focus on operations. I'll handle communication." His face fell slightly but then recovered. "As you wish." He nodded, lips pressed together in determination. Inside, Vanessa felt a thrill was willing to concede that territory to her. By the time the next scandalous whisper reached ears, it would be buried beneath a fortress of proactive press releases, carefully placed interviews, and social media campaigns tailored to highlight Vanessa's philanthropy and professionalism. Joey, believing he had protected her, would instead be playing into her hands. Meanwhile, Vanessa devoted spare hours to another endeavor, a personal dossier on Joey's associates, compiled through discreet research and a network of informants. She cataloged their vulnerabilities, ambitions, and loyalties, assembling a silent army of influence. She knew that if she ever needed to apply pressure should Joey waver in his compliance, she would have the leverage to do so swiftly and decisively. Late one night, after a grueling board meeting for a high-profile development, Vanessa returned to the McBride home to find Doug waiting in the home library, a leather-bound notebook in hand. "You've been on the terrace with Joey all evening," he said, voice low with concern. "You didn't even come to my charity gala." Vanessa set her purse on the desk and joined him, smoothing the silk of her skirt. I had to secure Joey's continued cooperation. The gala's success depends on funding from his partners. Doug sighed and waved a hand. I know. It's just I miss you. She smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. I miss you too. But this is our future we're building. She laid a hand on his shoulder. I'll be back for the unveiling of the community center next week. I promise. He nodded, leaning into her touch. I trust you. Her heart warmed at his faith. She kissed him softly, knowing that his unwavering support was the bedrock on which all her machinations rested. As the weeks slipped by, Vanessa's grand design unfolded with clockwork precision. Armstrong Enterprises' coffers swelled courtesy of her strategic guidance, public opinion of her firm soared. Her and Doug's charitable projects blossomed with new funding and high-profile endorsements. Joey, meanwhile, remained oblivious to the depth of her orchestration, content in the belief that he had weathered the storm and regained control. But Vanessa knew the truth. She held every card. And when the time was right, she would reveal her plan in its entirety, revealing not only her tactical brilliance, but the true extent of Joey's dependence on her empire. By then, she would have secured her legacy and cemented her role not just as a real estate mogul, but as a power broker whose reach extended beyond the gates of any individual's schemes. The stage was set for the next act, a confrontation that would test loyalties, redefine alliances, and deliver the ultimate twist. Vanessa McBride was not merely a player in Joey's game, but its architect. And when Joey finally realized he had been outmaneuvered, it would be too late for him to reclaim what she had so carefully orchestrated. The world beyond those gilded gates would never see him coming.